or 7 false assumptions, and none of them work. Well, let's go on. This is my favorite kind of fossil. Now, my favorite kind of fossil is called a polystrate fossil. Now, again, when I use a big word, I always like to explain what it means. All of you would know the word poly means many, correct? Now, straight, strat, stratum, this all refers to layers. And so a polystrate fossil is any fossil which penetrates through 2 or more layers of the fossil record. Now, they are usually tree trunks, but they're often bone. But any fossil that penetrates through 2 or more layers of the fossil record, they are usually tree trunks, but they are often bone. Now, here you see in this photograph from Australia, many, many layers. Is that correct? Everybody see the polystrate tree trunk? Well, if you can't, it's right there. But what's particularly interesting about it is this. First of all, it's not petrified, it's coalified. This is a tree trunk turned to coal, but you'll notice it has no roots and no tops. It's just a log. Is that correct? Kind of tells you it didn't grow there, doesn't it? Well, let's think about this. How did coal form anyway? I mean, how many of you remember being taught in school the old swamp theory of coal formation? They used to teach us in school back, when I was in grade school. They used to say, oh, there were forests and swamps covering the earth 360 million, suppose, years ago at the time of the Carboniferous period, that these trees grew up in these swamps and they fell over and died, and they built up in the water of the swamp. And because there's so little oxygen in the swamp water, the trees piled up one on top of the other, and that's how we got coal. Does that sound at all familiar? But nobody teaches that anymore, at least not any honest evolutionist, because they all know it's not true. You see, first of all, let's take a little look. Here you see some small coal layers or coal seams, is that correct? But first of all, think with me. Do you notice it's flat on the bottom and flat on the top, is that correct? So first of all, does anybody here see roots coming down from below these layers? No roots. It's flat on the top, flat on the bottom. Number 2, you only find natural gas, coal, and natural oil between layers of sedimentary rock. Now, what is sedimentary rock? That's layers of dried out mud, is that correct? So you only find natural gas, natural coal, natural oil between layers of dried out mud, or some kind of sandstone. But there's something else here too. Notice right here. See how this coal seam forks right here? At the fork right there? Well, once they started realizing that, they started realizing the swamp theory simply wasn't true, and they stopped teaching it altogether. Now, this is a pure layer of anthracite coal. Now, anthracite coal is the hardest, densest, blackest, bestest coal there is. Anthracite coal is the really good stuff. Now, this comes from our state of Michigan. But this is about 1.5 foot to 2 foot thick layer of pure anthracite coal, the really good stuff. Now, let's think. To get anthracite coal, you have to have 10-foot thick layer of plant and wood deposits compressed down to 10 to 1. Okay, so it takes 10 feet of material compressed to 1 foot to get hard anthracite coal. Now, if you take 10 feet and you compress it maybe 3 to 1, you get soft coals like lignites, and 5 to 1, you'll get soft coal, and maybe down 5, 7 to 1, you'll get bituminous coals and so forth. But it takes 10 to 1 compression ratio to get anthracite coal. However, in our state of Utah, we have a pure layer of anthracite coal 200 foot thick. Now that tells you there had to be a layer of logs and vegetable material 2,000 foot thick there at some time in the past to be compressed down to 200. Is that correct? I would suggest to you only a worldwide flood could do that. A layer of logs and wood, 2,000 foot thick, all in one place, all at one time, would require a worldwide flood. And this is a bell found in 1944 in medium grade coal in our state of West Virginia, but the coal is supposedly 300 million years old. Oh, it's a very unique alloy and has a iron clapper on it and so forth, but this is a pre-flood bell used between creation 6,000 years ago and the flood of Noah by somebody, and trapped in the coal from the flood.